I am excited to introduce both your student moderator and your panelists today. And we'll do that as soon as, all right, there we go. So your student moderator today is Serenity Johnson. She is a sophomore at Baltimore Design School studying graphic design. She will be the person asking the questions of our panelists today for our discussion. And on our panel today is John Minadakis. He is the co-owner of Jimmy's Famous Seafood. It's an iconic Baltimore landmark or Maryland landmark, which has served the community for over 50 years now. Recently, he started the Famous Fund. You may have heard of it on the news, which aided over 30 city restaurants during the pandemic. TJ Smith is a retired police commander and a former chief spokesman for Baltimore Police Department. He partnered with Jimmy's Famous Seafood to raise more than $600,000 for restaurants and families during the pandemic. So he partnered with John. So the two of them will tag team this conversation a bit, and he consults on government leadership and law enforcement issues. Sidney Thomas is a middle school social studies teacher and teacher of the year for Baltimore City Schools. She's committed to supporting students as they blossom and thrive. And Young Elder is a sophomore at Coppin State University studying urban arts theater, a youth mentor, a mental health advocate, and an artist. So we are so excited to hear from these hometown heroes today and to discuss what it means to be a hero. Serenity, before I turn it over to you, I just wanted to ask, what are some ways that you hope to contribute to building a better Baltimore? Or ways that you already are doing it?
Ways that I could support or contribute to Baltimore is using my voice as a student in the Baltimore City Public Schools community. Getting my voice out there can help other students. I could advocate for them, for their learning and their possibilities.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Serenity. I hope you're excited for this conversation and to lead the charge, and the floor is yours.
Hey, good morning, everyone. I'm going to start with Mr. Smith. Mr. Smith, what is your 60-second answer to who are you?
Well, thank you very much for having me, and thank you all Baltimore City school students. First, I want to say I'm a proud Baltimore City school student alumni myself. I went to several Baltimore City schools. My mom is a retired Baltimore City schools teacher, so I've seen the school system my entire life up close and personal, and thank you to the teachers. But I'm a person who's been in a life of service, basically. That's what I've seen. I've seen people in the service industry trying to do and help others and lift others up. And I'm a dad first and foremost. That's like my most important job. But that also comes with the responsibility to try to be the best role model you can possibly be for others who might not see the image that's necessary, especially of us as young Black men, as Baltimoreans, as products of Baltimore City Public Schools. So in a nutshell, that's who I am. The jobs that I've had, the other elements of life that I've had don't necessarily define me, that they're part of me, but the who I am is where I was built and the people that helped build me up to who I am today. So that's it in a nutshell.
John, could you explain to us who you are in 60 seconds? Try.
60 seconds isn't a lot of time, but just like TJ, born and raised in Baltimore City. Actually grew up on top of Jimmy's Famous Seafood right there on Hollywood Avenue. And I'm the son of two immigrants. My parents moved here from Greece. And I guess I'm a product of the American dream. And just like TJ, I'm a firm believer in giving back and service to others and to share our gifts, not only with our neighbors, with our community. In this case, the community is in fact Baltimore City. And how can we work together to make everything better and to leave everything better for the next generation. It's always a work in progress. There's never one firm answer, but the one thing that I always believe in firmly is there's never a wrong time to do the right thing. So I think if we let those principles guide us, we'll be okay.
Ms. Thomas, could you tell us who you are in 60 seconds?
First, I want to say good morning to everyone. I hope everyone is having a good day. I would say that I have a lot of identities, and I'm proud of each and every one of them because I'm proud to be me. I'm a Black woman, I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I'm an educator, and essentially whatever I dream to be or I can conceive in my mind, like that's who I am. And so I'm a realist, but I feel like those identities make me who I am, and I'm proud where I've come from. I'm not from Baltimore, but I have roots in like Mississippi, and I'm proud of all of those things. So that's who I am, if I can break it down into 60 seconds.
And last but not least, young elder, could you explain to us who you are?
What's up, everybody? Like she said, my name is Young Elder. I'm 20 years old. I am a formal Baltimore City public school student. So I graduated from Forest Park. I also went to Cristo Rey. So everything that y'all going through right now, I've been there, I've done that. Right now, I work at an elementary school called Matthew A. Henson. I only been working here for a week and I love it here so much. I'm all about the youth. I'm all about motivating the youth, but not only motivating the youth, but teaching the youth skills like discipline, time management, and understanding that everything that you need to be successful is already in you. You just got to dig it out. You know, I'm all about mental health. Everybody has mental health, whether you're young, whether you old. And I'm a youth mental health advocate. So anything, whether it's anxiety, depression, I'm all about that. If you need to learn about it, let me know. We got Healing Youth Alliance. They teach you everything you need to know about mental health, especially around Black people and especially around Baltimore City. Shout out to all my babies at Green Street, because I know some of y'all went to Matthew A. Henson. And yeah, that's me. I'm just a ball of light. I'm trying to bring light to every situation, every room I touch. And I want to help motivate people to do the same thing.
Thank you, young elder. So I'm going to ask you again, young elder, how has Baltimore shaped your identity? Whether specific experiences have most impacted your life?
This is a really, really good question. And I think as far as like shape my identity, unfortunately, Baltimore has changed me. Like it changed me. I remember my old self and I look at my new self and I kind of get sad because the city is so dangerous. And sometimes it can be so many areas where it feel like it's no hope that it could start to rub off on you. Like when all you see is people getting arrested, people getting killed, it kind of make it feel like, you know, like what's the point of me even doing what I'm doing if I could get killed while I'm doing it? I might as well just stay where I'm at. So it's honestly kind of like living in Baltimore, seeing somebody get killed, seeing the violence in my city firsthand, and seeing how it affects the people around me has definitely changed me, like as far as it kind of made me numb to certain situations, but it also has opened my eyes to different situations. It's opened my eyes to see that everybody's life is not the same. Everybody is going through something different, and you have to carry every situation differently, and you have to lead with grace. That's what I learned living in Baltimore. You gotta lead with grace because everybody is going through something. So you just have to lead with grace to give people the benefit of the doubt and take it from there. So that's what I would say.
Mr. Smith, how has Baltimore shaped your identity? What specific experiences have most impacted your life?
Yeah, it's been a wild ride, but all of those experiences are things that you have to take, the good and the bad, to make you a better person. So if they're good experiences, which I've had many, you take those and become a better person. I love fishing. I love going out on the water, and I love taking advantage of those opportunities that we have right here in the metro area. But I also hate the fact that we have the violence that we have in the city. I hate the fact that we have the poverty and some of the struggles that we have. So I got involved in community service. I'm thankful to John for starting the Famous Fund and tapping me to lead it, to have another opportunity to give back and just expand that opportunity. I ran for public office, and I think we'll get into a little bit more of the law enforcement side of things later. But running for public office, and people see some of these public fights, but I tried to take an approach that wasn't about being involved in a public fight, but being involved in ideas to help shape a new and better city for the future. So seeing what I saw growing up in the 80s in Baltimore, when the crack epidemic really hit the scene, and seeing the violence through the 80s and 90s, and then seeing it return to the levels that we are at today, are things, of course, that shape me. But then the question becomes, what can I do about it? What can we do about it? So that's certainly had a huge impact on my life and me.
Ms. Thomas, how has Baltimore shaped your identity? What specific experiences have most impacted your life?
I would say definitely being an educator and working with students in Baltimore City has definitely shaped. I've come across some of the most talented students who create music, art, dance, some of the students who, write poems and all kinds of things, and just share like a piece of them. So they teach me a lot. And I think that has allowed me to kind of be honest about who I am and stand in who I am, and just build a sense of community where we are coming together, talking about things. And it just brings me a lot of joy. And I think that those strong relationships helped us to build each other up, and see how we can grow and how we can develop. Because I see so many students, and they even come back today from high school, and just to see the smiles and the joy, like that has definitely impacted me and made me more open. So I guess, before I was kind of closed off a little bit more, but being around students and the joy that they have, and, everything great about them, that has helped me open up a whole lot. And that has been for the better, because I think sometimes it's easier to kind of stand away or to shift away from people, but being able to accept the love and the joy is like a good thing. So I would say that is by far like the best thing that has shaped my identity.
And John, how has Baltimore shaped your identity? What specific experiences have most impacted your life?
Growing up in Baltimore, I think the two things that it'll make you is tough and resilient. And that's a gift that a youth in Baltimore, and an advantage that a youth in Baltimore, I believe, has over anybody in the country. There's no place, in my experiences, in the country or in the world, quite like Baltimore. As TJ alluded to, we have a little bit of everything here. It's a beautiful melting pot. Growing up in Baltimore, I got to hang out with kids from all backgrounds, all walks of life. Being in the restaurant business, I get to interact with hundreds and thousands of people each week from every age group, from all parts of town. And the great thing about Baltimore, the underlying theme, the thing that we saw during the pandemic, is Baltimore sticks together. And when you come for Baltimore, when you come and talk about our Orioles or our Ravens, we all come together when it matters. And the great thing about Baltimore since I was a kid is we've always had really good role models here, people that we can look up to. And representation is very important. We see all walks of life holding power. We see all walks of life on our sports teams. Guys like Cal Ripken, Lamar Jackson, setting great examples. And the beautiful thing about Baltimore, in my opinion, is for as much of a bad rap as we get, none of us would ever trade our situation. And there's no one word to describe it. But if you've lived it and if you're going through it, I think that you can express it through your actions. And that's why they call it Charm City.
Thank you. Young Elder, first, you're very inspiring. What advice do you have for students about how to prepare for life beyond now, such as college and career readiness?
So the advice that I would give is to keep your eyes on the goal and focus on what your why is. Because a lot of times people think, okay, I'm gonna go to college because my parents want me to go to college, or I'm gonna go to college because that's the right thing to do. And for me, I kind of took the route where I go to college because both my mother wanted me to go to college, and I know in order for me to be successful, I gotta go to college because that's what I've heard. But that's not true. The key is to make it easier for yourself is find out what problem in the world do I want to help change? Whether it's the world, whether it's your city, whether it's just your inner community. What problem do I want to solve? How can I be a part of that solution? And then you find out the steps that it takes to be a part of that solution. Now, whether that requires school, then you do that. Now, if it doesn't require school, then you do that. But you just follow whatever path is going to lead you to where your end goal is. And essentially, your end goal should be to provide more life to any situation, if that makes sense. Whether it's advocating for mental health, provide more life to that. Whether it's working for kids, whether you starting off at McDonald's, you flipping every burger with love. You know, it starts with the small things, giving you everything to every small thing that you do is going to help you build up your credibility, and people won't be able to rely on you.
Thanks again, Mr. Smith. How do you use your role to influence how young people see law enforcement?
Thank you. Thank you for the question. And obviously that's super important, especially nowadays. And, you know, I was taught very early on in my career, but it obviously starts with your upbringing as well, but to treat other people how you want to be treated. And to the best of my ability, I tried my best to do that. But also, as I spoke about earlier, when you take a job in service, like many teachers do, they're working well beyond the time that they're getting paid. And when you take a job in law enforcement, if you do it for the right reasons, you're going to get sucked into the community. You're going to be a coach. You're going to be a mentor just because it naturally happens. People are going to call you when you're not working to help navigate a situation, because that's what naturally happens. And if that's who you are, that's who you will be. And, you know, moving on to different parts of my life beyond law enforcement, it has always been about service. And, you know, I think if people will know who you are, if that's how you walk, and no one person can ruin that, because you are who you are. And I used to tell young officers that all the time. If you do your job the way you're supposed to, and someone accuses you of something at some point in your career, there are going to be people who stand up for you from your community and say they know who you are because that's who you've been. So it's really up to you. And as a person who became a spokesperson at a point in my career, and a visible presence for law enforcement at points in my career, it was very important to convey the image necessary for young people, and for young Black people, and for Baltimoreans, of course, and for law enforcement, that, you know, there are some of us out there that are trying to do what's best for the community. So I believed in integrating in the community, and you can do that within the profession. And I highly suggest that if you were ever in that profession.
Your input on how service reaches out for certain people and how it affects them is really great, offering for advice for students, especially some that are struggling with the opportunities such as school and after-school activities. Mr. John, How has the pandemic allowed you to reimagine your role, and how do you show up for your community?
Well, I just think it was a crisis, and I think that's when leadership and everything that went into your upbringing comes to the surface. So you'll be challenged in life, but you never get to pick when that challenge happens, right? Things just happen. They're out of your control, but how you react to those things are completely within your control. And when the pandemic happened and I looked around and I saw people struggling and I saw businesses closing and people just, losing everything they had, I knew something had to be done. And I try not to talk too much, but I knew that it was time to use my voice for positive and to bring people together and to help these people out. And in hindsight, sitting here a little bit over a year later, I know that it was the right thing to do because the proof is in the actions. It saved so many businesses. It saved so many jobs. It helped so many people go to work the next day with a smile on their face. And it just showed the world what Baltimore is all about, because the Famous Fund did not happen in Miami. The Famous Fund did not happen in New York. The Famous Fund did not happen in LA. All these flashy places that you see on TV, they didn't step up to help each other. There's only one place in the world that was able to put this together, and that's Baltimore. And once again, that just speaks volumes about the place that we're living in and the beauty of Baltimore. So now that I've had some time to look back and reflect, the pandemic just really made me use my spotlight to share what Baltimore is really about. It's not about The Wire and everything you see on TV. It's about tough, loving citizens that always have each other's back.
Few great words I took from your answer was leadership and surfacing reality with challenges that aren't an optional stage in life for some people. And the way that you help our community will definitely be remembered. Ms. Thomas, how do you inspire, how do you inspire young people to believe in themselves, especially during hard times such as COVID?
So I think with that question, a lot of times we see the students, believe in themselves, but the main question is like, do we believe in students? Are we actually having not just the words to say, I believe in students or I believe in young people? Like, what actions are we doing to kind of show that? And what are we doing? Because honestly, students call out, like young people, they will tell you the truth exactly. And so I think being open to hearing exactly their perspectives has been very helpful in inspiring young people to be themselves, because you're actually listening. Like, what is their goal? What do they want? What do they need? And that voice, allowing them to share that voice and hearing them out and giving them the space to do that and the opportunity to do that is definitely something that helps with inspiring students as well. And then accepting people for who they are. So young people are themselves and they have a lot of attributes that are great, and trying to make sure that I recognize those things and the greatness that I see in them, and the greatness that they're going to continue to have and the greatness that they're going to continue to be later on. And I think that also inspires young people to kind of do things and take chances and risks instead of kind of being in a box saying, I won't be able to do that. And also understanding and showing that I'm not perfect, no one's perfect, and it's okay to make mistakes. Those things are going to happen and there's nothing we can do about that. However, it's like, what do we do to move from those mistakes? How do we grow from those things? What do we learn from those things, and not letting it define people as they are? And I think all of those things help young people and inspire young people to believe in themselves, but definitely we have to make sure that we're believing in them as well through our actions. And I think one example of that I saw was looking at Baltimore youth actually lead adults at the Pratt to do trauma-informed care. And so literally they have that space. They're telling you the information that they have, they're giving you their expertise, and then you're giving it to the adults and listening to it. So I think that's very inspirational. So things like that inspire young people. We can't speak for them or tell them what they want or make them do certain things. They have to be the ones to provide that for us. And we can't always necessarily tell them what they need to do, how they need to do it, when they need to do it. Like, they have autonomy. They're able to communicate those needs. And I think it gives a level of respect so that they can believe in themselves and actually take that action and not be insecure to do so. So I would say that would be mainly my personal experience of how I inspire young people around.
You said teachers believing in students and students actually believing that the teachers support them is hard, because when you are a student, it feels like everyone's out to get you until you let it know that mistakes are okay, grow together. Is that cut out?
I was just gonna say, I definitely agree. And I think sometimes as adults, I'll say that we forget that young people are just young people. Like, even we were all young and we were making mistakes and we did things too, but that doesn't necessarily define us in any, way whatsoever. And I think a lot of times, especially like in the media, just in general, there's like this perverse thing that says that something's wrong with Baltimore youth, and it's not. And so I think we need to make sure that we're not kind of playing up that, stereotype, because it's just not true. So what are we doing to make sure that we're supporting students with things that they're interested in, like music and art? Some students like to do advocacy work. Some students, have all of these aspirations. So what are we providing and giving them so that they're able to explore those different things, so that they can continue to believe in themselves and inspire to do other things that they, see for themselves and for the city?